All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one will be doing a video where we give our thoughts on some important recent comments made by Scott Gimple about the ending of the Walking Dead series, and it basically being based most likely on fan demand. Alright, and I'll put the link in the description so you guys can go ahead and check this one out from entertainmentweekly.com, where they have the interview. And this is, I want to say, maybe the best information we have surrounding kind of the ending of The Walking Dead, and that we've got so far since there was that kind of leaked report from inside AMC that possibly the end of Season 12 could be the final season for The Walking Dead. And pretty much what we're getting here is probably the closest to the truth that there probably is from Gimple, from the looks of things, in that Entertainment Weekly asked him about the ending of the series and the ending of the comics and how this whole thing is going to kind of come together. So I thought this one was really helpful, and it makes a lot of sense to me. And basically, to paraphrase what he's pretty much saying here is, it depends, right? It depends on if people want it. Now, he did say that the ending of the Walking Dead comic book series reads like a pilot, so there's lots more stuff they could do after that. But I guess it really, when it comes down to it, with the Season 12, Season 13 type of discussion, it depends if people still want it, right? Like, that's what it's going to be. That's what it's going to come down to. AMC has said they have lots more Walking Dead stories to tell. They have lots more ideas for other series. They have to be creatively exceptional, but if they do have some really good ideas, you know, they're going to use the license. They're going to make Walking Dead content for us, which is great to hear. So really, it comes down to if the fans are going to watch it. You know, it sounds like they'll basically keep making it. So if it gets to Season 12 and they wrap up kind of the final storylines of the comic, and there's still maybe 3 or 4 or 5 million people watching it with AMC Premiere and all that stuff going, they're going to continue onward if the fans still want it, which makes a lot of sense. You know, it's like I can't believe it never occurred to me. It's like, well, yeah, that doesn't, you know, isn't that kind of obvious? Like, why would they say, well, we're going to end it here at this point creatively if there's 10 million people watching still? No, you're gonna keep going until people don't want it anymore. So there is no timetable for ending, is what the article is about. So what he says is that I've asked you this question before, but I haven't asked you this question in a while, and certainly not since Robert Kirkman put an end to the comic book. Keeping that in mind, with him ending that story, do you have any sort of timetable yet in terms of how long you want the show and the story to go? So this is what he said. He said, we're always in contact with AMC to ensure we're on the same page about moving forward. There is not a timetable. So he says there isn't a timetable. There's no timetable. We're continuing on. People are digging the show. People are watching the show. They're enjoying the show. And there's a lot more story to tell. I've said it. Angela said it too. That last issue of the comic reads like a pilot. There's a ton more story to tell as long as the audience wants it. We would love to tell it. So far, we're very much on the same page. So translation, it could go on past Season 12. It could go on past Season 13. It could go for about as long as they have good ideas for it, good creative ideas for it, and the fans still want it. As people have pointed out, if you're doing the trilogy, and the first one probably won't even air until either 2021 or 2022 or something like that, and you're going to do 3 of them, that means that, let's say the first one airs in 2022, then the second one probably won't air until like 2024 or 2020, probably 2024, and then the one after that probably would not air with the final one until 2026. So with the movies kind of being out there, in the theatrical releases, does it make sense that they could do more things with the TV series or have lots of different series going and this kind of thing going forward? It sounds probably like that's what we're going to see. So even if the original Walking Dead series does kind of wrap up at some point, there's no reason why they can't do additional spin-offs or like a Walking Dead future kind of idea, as many of us have kind of come up with, where you see like past the ending, like you have the ending maybe with Judith, and maybe she has a family later on, and then you see like the stories past that, and they do another series way in the future, like way past that. And it could be like a dystopian thing where there's hardly any zombies around, and there's just people, but it's like a wasteland or something like that. So, there's all these different ideas, and I guess, it's so obvious, it didn't occur to me. It's like, well, why are you thinking Season 12 is going to be the end of it? really, what they're going to do is they're going to let the fans determine that. And if people just don't care and they kind of stop watching any of the particular series almost entirely, then they'll probably look to wrap up those series in the next year or two after. But are they going to cancel a series that still has, a huge fan base? They're probably going to renew it each year, and then they just take it in a year-by-year type of basis. And he does get into it a bit about talking with Robert about the comics and where it ended. So I don't know when it's going to end, but I know how it ends. Do you have in your head a vision for how this show will eventually end? So then he said that I've had visions, and I think you always have to have a small variety of ways it could go, because there's so many different things that can happen outside the narrative production-wise. So let's stop there for a second. That's true, right? Because if the series keeps getting renewed each year, then they have to kind of think about like where they want to go with it and have some different kind of endings in mind. So maybe you could have like an ending like with Daryl and Carol, or just Daryl or something being the last man walking off in the sunset, that kind of thing, last man standing. The Beth quote from the worst episode ever, still, at least in my opinion. Or you could have the Judith ending where she's older and it shows it in the future, and that whole thing, and they kind of defeat the zombie apocalypse. That's one idea. Or who knows, if it goes on even past that, there could be other characters, and we'd have to see who kind of is who's still alive at that point. And he's got a good point here, because we probably all thought at one point that it would end with Rick. Like eventually Rick would either die, and that would be the end of the series, or something like that. The series would be over, or like what the comics did, Rick dies and then you show a future Carl. A few years ago, we probably all thought that would happen, but there's sometimes certain cast members want to leave, or they can't do the schedule, so they do movies or they do things like this. So it's subject to change over the years, right? They can't really like tell you like, here's the idea I have. This is how it's going to end. This is the perfect ending, and that's what it is. So he's got a few different ideas, and we'll have to see which one kind of fits in as the years go by here, the next few years, and if the fan interest is still there. As far as the ending on the show, though, whenever it might be, I would be talking about it with Angela and really try to fulfill the whole of it. I think with Andy's departure, we tried to sort of fulfill the whole Rick story on the show, and we had planned that for a good while. So they did plan it out for a while. That's why you saw the helicopters earlier on as Rick's kind of like walking and the helicopters fly overhead. It was foreshadowing. They did have it set up for a while. They knew they were going to do it at that point. It'll be the same whenever, if ever the show ends. Maybe we simply don't have to deal with it because the show just keeps going and people keep watching it and it keeps getting kind of renewed. So it sounds to me like there's really no point in talking about it, because what they're more focused on is like what they're doing next, like which step they're on next. And eventually when that kind of comes up, because he does describe here too that the narrative process can be like, it can be longer or shorter, or maybe you have a story and it takes up a season, or maybe it's 2 seasons or half a season or something like that, and it kind of tells itself out, and then you have to kind of see where you're going to go from there. And so they couldn't even really tell you, even if they knew, couldn't really kind of say, because it depends on all those different factors. There's another one also that was really useful too, that he said about the Commonwealth and the CRM. So he's confirmed for us now that the Commonwealth is its own thing. So you have the Commonwealth, where likely Maggie is at, probably, which is probably a good community. But then you have the CRM, which likely is probably not. So, or at least it seems that way. So they are 2 distinct groups. The Commonwealth is not part of the Borromene Rings. The Commonwealth is its own thing, and then the CRM, which is the Borromene Rings, which is the interconnecting communities, is, with their security and all their different stuff, is its own thing. It is its own separate entity. So wow, a lot of useful information out of Gimple. I'm quite impressed. People were asking me in yesterday's video, why are you laughing so much, Travis? Because he says all these words, and it's just like, it doesn't mean anything. Like, he says all this stuff, and it's like useless. It doesn't tell you anything. It's like we're dealing with different aspects of this now, like, and there's this, and there's this, and this, and this, so we'll have to see what happens. Like, that's his answer. Like, it's like, he said all these words, and there's no meaning to it at all. It's like, it doesn't mean anything. He gave us nothing, So that's a good one. Now, some people did ask, Trav, who do you think should direct the Walking Dead movies? Now, this is a really good question, right? And you guys can leave your comments below. If you could pick someone to direct the Walking Dead movies, who would it be? For me personally, at least for the first one, because again, if this goes into late 2020s, like 2026 or 2027 or something like that, until the final movie airs, wow, man, that's a long time from now. But so you might have different directors for each one. You probably will, actually, at least for one of them be different. But for the first one, at least, you want to get a good director, and then you want to have a really good director for the third one, I think. For the first one, you could go like they're doing the big Hollywood Universal movie and that whole thing. So it's going to be big time. But who would you actually pick to direct it? It's a really tough choice, right? Really tough question for the first movie. That one is going to be really important of who they choose to do it. They could go, and we'll have to see how the feel of the movie is. Like, will they use green screen, like, a lot of the modern Hollywood stuff, like a lot? Is that something that's going to look cool? Is this something that's going to be worth it? Could they go more with like make it a big budget movie and just have like tons of practical? You guys know, for me, they have to use the effects. They have to use green screen with movies, for a lot of things, right? If I could pick one person to direct the Walking Dead movie, who would it be? I personally would go with Greg Nicotero. He's the one I would pick. Ernest Dickerson was good too before, and I think he's done some movies too, but I don't know if he's still active or anything. But I haven't looked up him since like season 5, since he stopped directing Walking Dead. But Greg Nicotero, I think, would be your best bet, because now some people say, well, he hasn't directed a big budget, Hollywood movie or anything yet, that kind of thing. Well, has he? Maybe not. I'd have to look a little closer. But in terms of what we've seen him do and what we saw him do with Rick's last episode, what comes after, some of the episodes he's done throughout the series, I think that it'd be easier for you to get somebody that's a master and has that experience of one thing, and then they're adjusting, rather than to get somebody to come in blank slate and try to do something with the universe like that. If you have somebody who, now you have to take him away from the TV series for a while, which would hurt a little bit because you don't have him to do your premieres and stuff like that. So you have to take him away from it. It'd probably be worth it, though, for the movies, to get him in the movies, because if you saw the visuals that he did with the premiere for season 10, were pretty amazing, right? His obviously there's nobody better in the world at the zombie effects than just being, a top level elite kind of master of doing all that stuff. He's probably I'd say probably number one in the world for that in terms of resume, if you're looking at that. So what I'm saying is that he probably be the best person to direct the movies, because you're taking someone who's mastered one area, and you're just taking him to, and I know it's a different ballgame, like it's different thing. You're going TV series, right? And maybe he doesn't have that prior experience doing movies and stuff like that, but he's such a master of the things that have gotten us to this point that I would find faith in him and trust in him to take his skills that he has from there, which is absolute mastery, top of the world probably, and pivot and adjust for the movie style. So pivot and adjust. So you let him kind of artistically, which obviously he's a master of that too, creatively kind of artistically work with that as well, and take what he has from his experience and just his mastery of that world and of that universe, because he's one of the ones who built it, probably put as much work into building as anybody else, right? And in terms of hours and everything. And you're taking him and you're giving him something new to work with. So there's going to be a little bit of learning, but I guess what I'm saying is the gap in terms of, taking somebody who's like a Hollywood director and, getting him to understand Walking Dead, getting him to understand all these different things about the series. Everybody loves Walking Dead, but the blank slate there is probably greater than the blank slate would be for him to do like a big budget, movie. Right? Because literally, like, I would be happy if the movie was just like What Comes After, just in a movie format. Like, that would be fine with me. I mean, I know that the popcorn, explosion, Michael Bay fans might not like that as much. So you probably have to mix some of that in. It'd be easier to take him and get him to move closer to the Michael Bay explosions and big theatrical craziness that gets people's attention in trailers and stuff like that, than I think it would be to get somebody who can do all that, who can do the big explosion stuff, and get them to understand Walking Dead to that level. So that's the way I would go. But so easy. I think it'd be easier for him to change his style for the big screen than it would be to get somebody new who's never done Walking Dead before, who is a big screen director, and get them to do the Walking Dead side of things. But that's my opinion. We'll see who they get. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of factors involved here, as he kind of explained here. It's just kind of like, it's not that much of a perfectionistic type of process. It's really timing, who's on schedules, who's signing what contracts, who can they get, whatever, and just kind of how things kind of play out and how they go through. But that would be my choice in a perfect world, and we'll see who they actually do get for the movies, because I would think that they should be starting pretty damn soon. I mean, we're in 2020 now. They should be starting to kind of rev up and get things rolling with the movies and get things started with that pretty damn well soon, I would think, right? So anyway, that's it for this kind of Dead update for you guys for today. Let me know what you think. You can choose one director for Walking Dead. Who would it be? Leave your comments below for the movie or the movies, and new information about the end of the series, really depending on fan demand, which, yeah, that makes sense. And then the CRM and the Commonwealth being two separate communities. If you like the video, please thumb it up below. You can share, you can favorite, you can subscribe at the bottom left. I appreciate all of you guys for all your years of subscribing and viewing and everything you guys do for me. Thank you guys for all of it, and I'll see you guys back in soon for another video. As always, this is Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.